Today we have with us British Deputy High Commissioner Mr. Andrew Fleming. We welcome you, sir, to the studios of All India Radio.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here.
Sir, please tell us about India-British ties, especially in this region.
I think there's been long and historic ties between Andhra Pradesh and Telangana and the UK, dating way back, Arthur Cotton's legacy, and you see his engineering when you travel, particularly in Andhra Pradesh. The relationship between the royal family in the UK and the Nizam's kingdom. And of course, we also have the British Council here. British Council's library is something that many people speak very fondly of when I travel all over the state. There's a real thirst and appetite for education and culture here, which is something that the British Council is currently in the process of reviving and bringing more activities to its library in Hyderabad. But I think overall, I would say that there isn't another bilateral relationship that can compete politically, in terms of business, in terms of the tech sector, in terms of life sciences, culture, sport, music, and of course at the moment we have the Cricket World Cup going on.
Yes.
And many people from the Telugu region are in the UK as we speak, enjoying the hospitality of the English cricket team, which isn't doing particularly well. But in recent times, in the last couple of years since I've been here, I think a number of things are worth mentioning. Tech companies from Hyderabad that have been successful and have expanded into the UK. Science, of course, one of the biggest. You have IMI Mobiles, which was born in Hyderabad, which has grown and which has moved to the UK and now is listed on the UK stock market. You have others like Infosoys and Wipro and all of these links, huge employers here and also employers in the UK. So I think there's a lot to celebrate together, and at the same time a lot more that we can do together. One of those areas is financial technology, otherwise known as fintech. In that respect, the UK is hosting its India Day on the 16th of July. The Lord Mayor of London, chief host for that event, at Mansion House, will be presiding over the affair. I'll be travelling to the UK to join that, but I hope that from that we'll see more focus on Hyderabad and on the Telugu region in that sector. So that's something that we can look forward to together. We have just recently increased our commitment on climate change, a big announcement from the UK that we're going to reduce the amount of carbon emissions. So we will see that. I'm really sorry. I'm just rambling so much. Can we start? Do you mind if we start again? Is that okay?
No. You can continue.
I would rather.
No, please.
Are you sure?
Yeah, sure.
Because this is really bad.
No, not at all.
I'm not very happy because I'm jumping around too much. Sorry. Okay, I'll come back to it. I think the UK and India are two of the global powers that are standing most strongly on climate change. This is an issue that matters to both our nations, and I believe it's an area, again, where we can and must have a lot of influence for everybody's good. Sustainable supplies of power and energy that is affordable to people is really important for business. It's really important for life, and there are significant challenges we both face in that area. So I hope that we can further deepen and work together in that respect. And we recently had our first royal visitor for many years to Hyderabad. The Countess of Wessex was here just a couple of months ago. visiting on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen, the Diamond Jubilees Trust's projects to tackle avoidable blindness. 85% of people in the world who are blind are needlessly blind. And the work that the Trust has been doing here in Hyderabad has been focusing on the particular risk to premature births and the need to and the need for certain screening to take place to avoid the risk of blindness becoming a problem in those cases. Whereas in Andhra Pradesh, there's a similar project that I've committed to visit for people who are suffering from diabetes, and there is also a risk of blindness for such patients. So the visit was very successful, and the Countess, I think, left with very fond memories of Hyderabad.
That's great, it's really great, sir. Sir, many youngsters from Telangana and Andhra Pradesh aspire to study in UK. What are the recent trends for students going to UK from this region?
When you say about trends of students going to the UK, we're seeing more and more students choosing to go to the UK from India in general. And I know that Hyderabad itself is among the top 5 cities which is a source for students to go and study in the UK. I think over the last 3 years, the number of students going to the UK from India has increased to almost 97%, by almost 97%. Mm-hmm. And in the last year alone, from that being from March of 2018 to March 2019, we've seen an increase of 40%. So that means that today 21,500 Indian students in a year are going to study. And I think all indications are that this increase is only going to continue. And why is that the case? I think England has 4 of the top 10 universities in the world, with Oxford and Cambridge the top 2. And we have something like 18 of the top 100 and 29 of the top 200. So, you know, that encompasses universities from places as diverse as Edinburgh, Manchester, Leicester, Exeter, Cardiff. And I think that, we have a very strong and vibrant community of alumni who have studied in the UK, and I'm yet to meet one that hasn't come back with very strong and positive messages about their experience. So it's extremely encouraging. I think at the moment also the UK is competitively priced for education. Our pound isn't as strong as against the rupee as it once was, and that's definitely an advantage for people that want to study in the UK. And a proportion of those that study in the UK are going on scholarships that are offered by my government. In the course of a year, we take almost 500 students from India on various scholarships to the UK, which I'm very proud of. And I know a good deal of the Telugu students that have benefited from the various scholarships that we've offered, of which Chevening is the flagship one.
That's great, sir. Sir, does the consulate host events or programs to inform students going to UK and make them aware of the rules there and life in UK campus?
Yeah, well, I think the UK is a very welcoming place for international students. I think it's said that perhaps with the exception of the US, we have students from almost every country in the world who choose to come and study in the UK. But as an Indian student, you will benefit from the fact that we have something like 1.7 million people of Indian origin living in the UK, and you'll never be far from somebody with whom you can have some cultural tie And here, whatever your language might be, your mother tongue, if you feel a little bit homesick and a little bit in need of that. But I mean, for most people that go and study in the UK, it's part and parcel of it is that international experience and exposure and the chance to try new things and do new things. And the UK is a multicultural country, as I've said. It has students from many countries. It's a very friendly place. I think the people are very welcoming. And contrary to what might have been heard recently, I think it's also a safe place in general. You have to take the advice locally, as you do everywhere in the world. But, you know, the vast majority of students that study in the UK do so without any problem. And as I've said already, they come back with very warm memories and are happy from their experience. So I think, you know, you let your child go to study, and of course you have a mechanism for keeping in contact with them. It's quite likely that there'll be somebody, if it's not immediately in your family, there'll be somebody in your wider network that's in the UK that can offer some support for your son or daughter while they're there, if you are concerned. But you know, the universities also are very professional in their support for their international students. And I've already said the numbers are going up, and we're very keen to attract even more students to the UK, so that isn't going to change.
Sir, what do you suggest or advise aspirants and their parents in India do in order to ensure a safe and secure admission process in UK?
You mean in terms of getting a visa? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you advise your parents?
Fine. I mean, first of all, if you're applying for a visa to go to the UK, we have a very, very good online guidance for that process, and people that have used our visa application system have said that's the case. It can talk you through step by step everything you need to do. The key thing that I stress is that you should apply early. I would say that it is best to apply a good 28 days before you plan to travel. That can avoid any question of stress or anxiety over having your visa before you're due to fly. And it's one of the biggest problems that people don't always adhere to that advice. Students need to make sure before applying that they've got all of their evidence. The evidence that they need is set out in the online portal that I've mentioned. That will include the results for their English language and TB tests, and documents about the course they're going to study, payments made, financial evidence. All of these things have to be produced. And the other thing that I would say is that in almost every case, you don't need to go and use a middleman, an agent, to make the application. Mm-hmm. You can do it yourself. You can upload the evidence that you need to upload, or you can arrange to have it assisted at the visa application centre. The process should be quite smooth if you follow the guidance that is set out there. Let me add that 96% of Indian student applications in the last year have been successful.
Really great. That's great.
So, people talk about it being very difficult to get a visa, but I don't know. My suspicion is that some people make it out to be difficult because you need to get different types of help, which actually you probably don't really need. Invest a bit of time, look at the guidance, follow the guidance, and be true to yourself. If you don't have something, maybe you have to wait until you can satisfy that point. But if you're true to yourself, you should be fairly confident that your application will be handled in in an expeditious way, and that the visa should come through.
That's great, sir. So, what are the key cultural similarities found during the stay here?
I think I find more similarity than difference, actually. But if I have to really focus on differences in culture, I would say that the family, the value of the family, is something that's particularly outstanding here in India, and that from the very young to the very old, the family unit is often extremely strong. I can't say that it's always the case in my country, but I wouldn't want to generalize about that too much. But I think it's one of the things that is good. But, as it comes to other things, we've spoken about sport. We have a lot of similarity with love for cricket. We haven't spoken about food, but Indian cuisine is extremely popular in the UK, and almost every visitor I have who comes to Hyderabad insists on going to try biryani, or if they're a non-meat eater, some of the other delicacies that can be found in this part of the world, and the heritage is also extremely rich. I've come from London. London is a city which has lots of very ancient monuments, a lot of history, really a fascinating place. But you travel around the Telugu region, and also you will find many the same. I wish the condition of some of them perhaps was a little bit better, but in general, there is some outstanding heritage to be seen here in the Telugu region. Last night, I was in Mabunaga, and we stumbled upon a Jain temple that was built around the 8th century, which is in ruins but is spectacular, hardly ever visited, I'm told, by the custodian. And it's one of many, many buildings which I think could actually, with a little bit of investment, really help transform a community. Because, as we've seen in places like Rajasthan, where cultural assets are really valued and given a little bit of revitalization, you can also revitalize the surrounding communities. People will offer accommodation for visitors that would like to see those places, and other little bits of business prop up, and that can really change an economy. And I honestly think, I've been to places like Guti Fort, Karimnagar has an outstanding fort about 10 kilometers from the centre of town. There's lots of spectacular places to visit along the Andhra coast. All of those, I think more could be made of them for the benefit of attracting more tourism, more interest to this beautiful region of India.
Sir, is India still a great source for specialist skill in IT sector?
In the IT sector, I think India is doing exceptionally well, and Hyderabad perhaps is a star amongst most, if not all, of India. Perhaps it's slightly in the shadow of Bangalore still, but it's very, very fast in catching up. And unlike Bangalore, where there isn't much more room for growth, Hyderabad still has plenty of space for more. So I would see in the long term that Hyderabad perhaps could become the top centre for tech. And at the moment, I think it's perhaps knocking on the door of being the top centre for innovation and T-Hub. the incubation centre, the largest in India, is a very good example of somewhere that embodies all of the innovation and energy that this city offers. I've brought some very senior tech people from the UK to Hyderabad, and again, without exception, they have been left really impressed by what they see. We see opportunities to do a lot more with our Indian partners in the tech area, and we see Hyderabad as being one of the centres for that work, for that to happen.
Okay, so what kind of benefits can a student look for while opting to study in UK?
The UK attracts the brightest and the best international students to come and study at our world-class universities. As I've already said, I think the British education offers very good value for money. British degree courses are more intense than they are in many other countries. Students receive top quality education, but receive it in a shorter period. So overall, they are less expensive than in countries like Australia, US, Singapore. And studying in the UK is truly an international experience. We attract more overseas students than any other country than the US. Again, I've mentioned that. And the UK is a diverse, multicultural society with a very large Indian diaspora. And the UK has some of the best universities in the world. Again, I've mentioned Oxford and Cambridge, but there are many others. I mean, one I would single out is Birmingham, and Lord Billamoria, who grew up in Hyderabad and studied at the Hyderabad Public School, is the Chancellor of that university. So I think the experience that awaits any student that chooses the UK is extremely rich.
That's great. What do you like the most in this region, especially Telangana? How about your favorite food in Hyderabad?
I like many things. Actually, I normally say to people I don't like Telugu region. I love the Telugu region. So that's my starting point.
That's really great.
I love it. It's a fantastic, rich and diverse place, and it's part of India that sadly people haven't really discovered as international tourists and international business people. I talk often about the fact that people in the UK think about Delhi and think about Mumbai and think about Bangalore. And it's something of a triangle, particularly for business. I say we have to turn the triangle into a square and get more people to come to Hyderabad and, by extension, the rest of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. I love going and discovering different places. I said I was in Mahbubnagar this week, but I'm on a mission to visit every district in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. And each time I go to a new district, I enjoy exploring to finding out what is unique and special about that district. And that includes trying the food. You ask about the food.
Yes.
I don't eat meat in general. So maybe the Hyderabadi cuisine is quite meat heavy. But occasionally I try a little bit. But in general I try to be vegetarian or eat fish and seafood. So I like that. And my favourite food, actually, is a really good home-cooked Indian breakfast. I've been very fortunate to have been invited by politicians like Harish Rao and Kavita Rao, and in Andhra Pradesh, Hari Babu, to enjoy a home-cooked Indian breakfast. And those meals perhaps have been the most exceptional. I do believe that a good breakfast can really set you up for the day. And that's never more true than it is in this part of India.
That's really great, sir. So finally, how are the trends and talents demands in changing UK?
Sorry, can you repeat that one?
How are the trends in talent demands in UK changing?
Oh, the talent in the UK, the
Yes.
trends and talent.
How are they
I've got you.
changing?
I remember. Yes, okay. Well, first of all, I would say that the UK would like to have people coming to work there who have the skill set that we need, and that does change over time, year on year. But we have something in the region of 56,000 Indians that have been issued work permits in the last year, which is more than any other country in the world combined. A lot of them are in the tech sector, some of them in other areas such as life sciences, and of course we have a lot of people in the medical field who are working in the UK. Our NHS has benefited immensely from the expertise of Indian doctors and nurses over the years, many of whom, I should add, have come back since to India and indeed to Hyderabad, and are now utilising what they learned from the UK to the benefit of the people here. My friend Raghu Ram, who is at Kim's Hospital, for example, established a pioneering centre to treat women with breast cancer and other diseases based on his years living, studying and working in the UK, and now he's able to offer one of the best services to anybody in the region, and people, I believe, come from even beyond the Telugu region that need treatment in that area. I think we have to continue trying to get more medical professionals to go and experience in the UK. We do have a need in that area for help, but equally I think it needs to be a circular process. So if they spend 2 or 3 years in the UK and work there, they also will come back and share that experience back here in India, where those skills are also needed and are very valuable. So that's definitely one area that needs to be looked at. And of course, we have the uncertainty ongoing of Brexit and how that's going to look. But my prediction would be that, assuming Brexit goes ahead at a certain point, that then we will have a situation whereby our commitment to fill vacancies in the UK from the EU market is no longer in place. We'll be able to be truly international. And I think that's only going to benefit the very high level and high caliber of potential employees in countries like India. So I see that to be a brighter thing from an Indian perspective.
It has been a great pleasure to talking to you, sir. On behalf of All India Radio, we thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure, sir. Thank you. Thank you.